Hi everybody, Jason Wishlow here, Avalanche forecaster with Whitewater Ski Resort, and this is the Backcountry Conditions Report number 5, brought to you by backcountryskiingcanada.com, Whitewater Ski Resort, and State of the Snowpack. So, it's currently standing at the bottom of our goats terrain here, around probably 1,850 meters. Bit of a southwest facing aspect, and got all of Weimer Bowl behind me. We're gonna talk about a few things that have happened in there in the last few days. Currently Avalanche Canada is calling the hazard 3 in the Alpine, 3 at tree line, and 2 below tree line. That's consistent with what we're seeing here at Whitewater. We are calling a wind slab problem here. We experienced some winds that Avalanche Canada is not calling on the public bulletin. Broader region, and we were specifically the one that got the winds. I'll talk about that. But storm slab problem, persistent slab problem, sorry, from our January 30th surface horror weakness with this new storm snow that fell on top of it. So since we last spoke, we've had 50 centimeters that fell over the January layer. That layer consisted of some, fairly sizable surface horror, and we did experience a significant avalanche cycle all through where that surface horror was preserved on north-facing aspects and on a sun crust on more solar aspects that had formed during our dry spell, which sadly was most of January. And now that has been redistributed in the Whitewater area. We had moderate easterly winds, southeasterly, east-southeasterly, and that really scoured the top part of the bowl and then deposited reverse loading. So remember, our typical wind pattern is southwest. These easterlies deposited on opposite lee zones that we're used to. So if you're touring in exposed areas of Whitewater, please pay attention to that wind slab that formed Monday and overnight on Tuesday. That wind slab did react. We had 2 skier accidentals just behind me. Unfortunately, the light's a little flat and you can't really see, but it was possibly sitting on some old surface horror. It's hard to say. We're unable to determine if that wind blew it away, and wind slab can react if it's sitting on a firm bed surface like that, and I'll talk about that a little later on too. So currently our weather, it's lightly snowing today, but long-term weather is not looking favorable for more storm tracks for at least another week, possibly more. So, but there is still good skiing north aspects where it's been sheltered and it escaped that easterly wind event as I was just talking about. It's still, great snow to be had, and on the mountain as well, sheltered norths, like even in the trees, if you're inbounds, there's still some really good skiing. Watch that persistent weakness is still there. People are talking about wumping, big settlements as they're traveling. So if you're in areas unaffected, there is the possibility of triggering that layer, which has, like I say, 50 centimeters of storm snow on top of it. So we're going to talk now about our incident up here on wind slab. I want to mention something quickly on wind slab. You can really see the wind effect, and sadly I wish we had better visibility, but if you're here on a clear day after the wind blew the last couple days, you could really see how it had stripped the snow away, and it really redistributes things, creates these big variable areas that are really poor skiing quality. And then you got to remember that when the wind's blowing, the snow's going somewhere. Unless it's blowing so strong, it can just completely blow it to smithereens off of ridge tops, and then it just blows into the atmosphere and never comes back. This wasn't one of those style of wind events. It was depositing it into lee areas. So behind me, as the wind came around and circled through the bowl, there's a point where it changes from really, really poor skiing and very, very really variable distribution, and then it looks smooth and tapered, and it looks like it should be good skiing, and that's a point of real interest I want to mention. And that's what happened here with both these skier accidentals. They came down and in an area where it looked like the snow would have been better skiing and unconsolidated. That's a point where it becomes planar and able to be triggered by a skier or rider. So when you make that transition, you always want to make sure you're assessing, you're going through safe points, and seeing what the snow feels like in front of you. If there's any cracking, anything like that, you need to be aware that the snow is able to propagate and avalanche underneath you. So the people skied it one at a time, but as they were standing at this avalanche, we called it a size 2 avalanche. Person came in, called the next person in, and it was right at that transition point I was talking about earlier. Made one turn and both skiers were captured. One was able to move out to the side. The second was in the avalanche, rode it for about 100 meters, ended up being partially buried. And I was actually just taking some observations just above where we're standing. I was able to watch the whole incident occur. And I saw that the person came, watched to make sure that I had visual the whole time, ended up being partially buried. They were able to self-extricate. The rest of the group met them there, and they were able to ski out to our boundary here where I had a chat just to make sure that everybody is okay and try to all get us some learnables on how to avoid a situation like that next time. There was next, adjacent to it, only 100 meters away, another size 1 skier accidental that had happened earlier, but they were unable to see that avalanche from where they entered the slope, because again, that's a prime indication that it's your best data you get. If you see another avalanche, you know, same aspect, same elevation, that you should be very, very aware that where you are is prone to avalanching as well. So 2 avalanches in the bowl. This morning we did some heli control. Able to initiate hard with the visibility, some 1.5 slabs, maybe the odd 2, but that's higher up in the clag here and we can't really see. But, you know, so it seems like that wind slab maybe is tightening up a little bit, but I would still be, I'd still have my guard up as I'm traveling through the backcountry right now in the Whitewater area if you're experiencing any sort of wind, and watch those transition points. Something else I'm going to talk about today is our new boundary sign here for goats that goes up through Scobbs Knob. And when you ski our inbounds terrain here, you can see that we have a ski area boundary sign, but we have avalanche flip signs that are facing the opposite direction. And why we're doing that is that we have a lot of people ski touring still. There's a ton of area here in the Weimer Bowl in the backcountry, but if we feel the hazard has risen to a certain point, we need to close our inbounds terrain. So these avalanche flip signs are going to be facing out, which is kind of opposite of the way they face in our other terrain. So if you're skiing from out of bounds and from Weimer Bowl, if you've been out touring for the day and you want to come back into the area and you see that the signs are saying that the terrain is closed due to avalanche danger, our inbounds terrain is then shut down and you're not allowed to access that terrain. Again, these signs are facing into the backcountry, into Weimer Bowl, to let people know that you cannot enter our terrain. We do, if people are coming in from back end of Catuttle or 5 Mile, coming down this line, we've left a corridor of safety. So if people ski next to the line and not inbounds terrain, then it's totally fine for them to move through and safely ski back into the inbounds ski area that is not closed. So that's really, really important, and a lot of people out touring just to refresh what's happening here with this new closure line. Okay, thanks everybody for tuning in. Hope we all learned something. Incidents like that, it's really important to take our learnables. Very glad people remain safe, and I hope that happens with all of you out there, and you continue to have some great skiing, and let's hope the snow comes back sooner than later. Anyway, everybody stay safe, and we'll talk to you next time.